Go for
All right,
it.
recording has started. All right, so do that. Welcome to this episode 6 of TLC, Tech Learn Coffee. I'm your host, along with Nancy Minicozzi. I am a 5th grade teacher in South Maury County, reporting live from Starbucks. Hey.
And I'm Nancy, an ed tech coach in Northwest LA County. Sadly, not at Starbucks. But anyway, so I want to remind you of our podcast focus. Remember, we are accessible on your schedule. We have a short video format. We have a question section. We really want you to go to our website, tlc.ninja, and ask questions so that we can answer them and have this be your personalized mobile PD. We try to get guests on who are, quote unquote, normal. In other words, not well known. Because we know that Twitter and tweet chats can be intimidating and confusing for many folks, and that doesn't mean they're not doing wonderful things.
All right, and for the coffee portion tonight, appropriately from Starbucks, I'm going to talk a little bit about Blue Mountain Coffee. It was grown in Jamaica. It has a really unique growing climate in the mountains, high above Kingston. The air is cooler and it's misty, so it kind of gives it a nice taste to it, and the volcanic soil adds to the unique growing climate. So in addition to all of that uniqueness, it also takes 10 months from bloom until harvest, and that's roughly twice as long as other countries and climates. So if you haven't tried Blue Mountain Coffee, do so.
All right. Well, thank you. Tonight we have Ann Kozma, who is a former elementary school teacher, but she's now a tech coach in the Fullerton School District here in Southern California. So, Ann, welcome to TLC. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what it is that makes you love green screens so much.
Well, awesome. First of all, thank you, ladies, for having me. I'm super excited to be blabbing with you tonight to talk about green screen. And I appreciate the information on the Blue Mountain Coffee. I've never heard of it, but I sadly am not at Starbucks. I'm here in my living room. It's a gorgeous evening in Southern California. And a little bit about myself. Like you said, my name is Ann Kozma, and I am a teacher on special assignment in the Fullerton School District. And Fullerton is a district of about 14,000 students, 700 or so teachers, and we're like 7 miles north of Disneyland. I spent 10 years as a classroom teacher. I spent 3 teaching 3rd grade, and the past 7 years that I was in the classroom, I was a 1st grade teacher. And my last 4 years in the classroom, I was an iPad 1-to-1 teacher in an Apple Distinguished program at Valencia Park Elementary School. And I just completed my 2nd year out of the classroom. And when we go back in the fall, I'll be starting my 13th year in Fullerton and my 3rd year as a TOSA. So yeah, a little bit about me. In terms of green screen, why I love green screen, I want to help all of the scholars, not only in Fullerton School District, but everywhere, transform what they're doing and have opportunities to be creative, share their authentic voice with an authentic audience. That's my why.
Well, I love that, and I love that you refer to them as scholars, because it's important that we treat even our 1st grade students as scholars.
Absolutely. Young scholars starting, at the earliest ages all the way through graduate school. Always, always.
So I'm looking here on our notes, and I see you were inspired by a sketch note from Sylvia Duckworth that said, no
Yes.
student is ever emotionally invested in a worksheet. Can you talk about that?
So, yeah, I am a total fangirl when it comes to Sylvia Duckworth and her sketch notes. I love them as talking points in trainings and professional development that I do. I also think they're fantastic talking points in our classroom and sort of non-aggressive ways to bring up some uncomfortable topics. And the topic of worksheets can be hit or miss depending on who you ask. But I really, truly believe that if we give our students opportunity to create, they will invest more and take ownership at such greater levels of what they're doing to show what they know more so than if we say, here's a worksheet, complete the even problems, go for it. So I never was emotionally invested in a worksheet. I loved it when I had opportunities to create in the classroom, had an incredible educational experience growing up, and wanted to provide the same for my students in my classroom, and now help teachers do that in their classroom for students as well.
Great, thank you. So what role do students play in that process?
So what the students do in this process is so significant. Just as they're participating, and when I go into classrooms and I introduce how to use green screen technologies, when I'm working with teachers or doing a professional development or training, I do a lot of playground experiences. So I want to provide hands-on opportunities for people to build capacity and learn how to use the tools themselves. So as a teacher, when I was a teacher in the classroom, my principal used a play, learn, share model. So I like to do the same with students in classrooms as well. I want them to play, to explore. So it's a ton of experiential learning that hopefully, inspires them to begin to create and show what they know in new ways, in different ways. When I think about how students engage in these opportunities, I think about critical conversations they participate in while we're doing these playground learning experiences. These conversations range anywhere from copyright and where do we find pictures to use in our green screen projects, which is so critical that our students know best practices, and you don't just go on the internet and take a picture. We need to find places that are copyright friendly to find pictures. Digital citizenship, best practices. What are tips and tricks students should know in the workflow? How do you use the app to show what you know? I know I've said that a few times, but I'm really big on that. And I want students to engage in a way that gives them the opportunity to showcase their authentic voice.
So when you're getting started, and I think I'm going to back up real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Using, the digital citizenship, I think, is so important. I think that's such an important thing, and so many of our students aren't getting it, and a lot of our teachers aren't remembering to model that as well. And I think that's such an important aspect. So thank you for doing that. And I know more and more teachers are beginning to do it.
Well, I think there are critical conversations we have to have. We as educators need to be having them to inspire our students to know, what do I do? Well, I'm creating more and more with all these devices we have. They must know appropriate digital citizenship. They just need to know it.
Yeah, it's just so important. It's just so much a part of our everyday lives now.
And
how did you get started in all this? And I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's something that teachers aren't aware of. And while we're encouraging everybody and to have their students create, it's something that teachers really need to be aware of because they would never have a kid take a page out of a book.
Exactly.
And copy it and put it in their project. It's a really great thing to bring up as part of this.
Yeah, it's sort of one of the starting points. And I usually, when I'm in classrooms, will show a quote by a fellow TOSA Chat member. He's a gentleman named Mark Lowndy out of Palo Alto, California. And he says, if you didn't create it, it isn't yours. And that's a great launching point for kids to understand what copyright is and best practices in terms of searching for material that people are open sourcing and saying, hey, it's cool. You can use my stuff. You can remix it. We have to be having these conversations with our students.
Agreed. So speaking of Wi-Fi, I think Lisa cursed me because I did cut out for a little bit and came back in. So I'm lost. I don't know where we are in our notes here.
That's okay. So, Anne, how did you get started in all this, and who inspired you with the green screening and things like that?
Well, the funny thing is I had a teacher at one of my school sites say, hey, could you come in and do a solids, liquids, gases green screen project with us? And I said, sure, no problem. And about 10 minutes before I walked into the classroom, I went onto YouTube and I found a video by Sam Patterson, Sam Patui on Twitter. And I watched the video and learned how to use Do Ink. That's my favorite green screening app. And I walked into the classroom and I said, we'll figure it out together. So we made a really cool project about 10 minutes after I learned how to use the app. And I've never looked back. Last summer, I actually was able to go to the Apple Distinguished Educator Institute in Miami. And I heard a gal named Jillian Madeley. She's an educator from Canada, and she shared a project that she's doing with green screen, and it was, the places you'll go with a green screen. And I listened to her, and I thought, I want to be that. I want to do that. I'm going to be this in California and beyond. And I looked through some of her tweets, and one of the first things I saw was, hey, you don't need a $150 green screen studio. Go to the dollar store and buy a green plastic tablecloth and start there. So that's sort of where I began. And I really, truly become inspired by teachers. It sounds funny, but all of the teachers around the world who are posting with the hashtag DoInk or sharing their projects with the Do Ink Tweets Twitter account. It's like crowdsourcing best practices and ideas from around the world. And I find my inspiration from teachers who are sharing, because I totally believe that sharing is caring. And that's why I'm putting content out there for people to share. But it all started with a YouTube video and inspiration from Jillian Madeley from Canada.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So Do Ink, I've fiddled around with Do Ink too, and I agree. It is such an amazing tool. It's amazing.
I love it. I just really think
Do Ink is great.
It's the most user-friendly green screening app that exists out there. And I love to give props to this company. It's a 2-person company. They're back east. I believe it's out of Vermont. And an incredible woman named Karen runs the company. And I am so fortunate to have some correspondence with her. And I say, Karen, your app is changing the world in education and providing creativity opportunities for our students. And I love it. So yeah, shout out to Do Ink Tweets.
Yes, and Do Ink. It not only is it's free. I think it's free. No, it's not free.
It's actually $2.99.
Okay.
It's iOS only, and if you purchase it on the volume purchase program, if you get more than 20 downloads, it's 50% off. But it's not a free app.
No.
But there are other apps that do provide green screening opportunities. vScope has a great free one. TouchCast has a green screening capability, but my preference is Do Ink Tweets just because of its user. It's so user friendly. I just love it,
and it's good quality too. It's definitely well worth the $2.99. I purchased it a while ago. I don't remember, but yes, definitely well worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering, have you used the animation companion app?
So I'm aware that Do Ink has this awesome animation companion app. I have not played with it yet. I have, as you can imagine, we all have crazy busy plates. It's one thing on my to-do list. So I will say I have not played with it yet.
Okay. All right, that sounds good. It looks like we have about a minute and a half left. Is there anything you'd like to share in closing?
I just wanted to share one last thought. I totally believe, and Nancy, you and I have spoken about this, that we're all better together, and there's a hashtag better together. And Lisa, I know you agree. We're all connected educators. We love to share best practices, tips and tricks. I love to share what I'm doing in Fullerton, California through the hashtag FSD So if anybody's curious what's going on in Fullerton, California, check out hashtag FSD And follow Do Ink for best ideas. And I'd love to help anybody who's interested in green screening. Reach out to me on Twitter. I'm Kozma723 on Twitter. So that's it.
Excellent.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on our. Yes.
Thank you to both of you for having me. It's been so fun to blab with you, and I appreciate the chance to share out some green screen love. So thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to pause.